Y'all, my road dogs, man. Y'all asked for it. Y'all hashtag highlight popping on my last video. And you know, if y'all show up, I'ma deliver, okay? And so today's video, I'ma share with you guys the difference between highlighting, concealing, and all those different things that we sometimes get confused about or don't really go far to explain to beginners what the difference is, what it means, and all those things. So a few things that I told you guys I would share with you is what's the difference, how to pick your concealer shade. We're going to do that as well in this video, and just the basics of where to highlight and all those things. So let's get straight into it. So the only thing I have done on my face right now, my face is primed, I have my brows done, and I also recorded that, so make sure you stay tuned for that video. And I concealed under my brows. So this is a teaching moment, I guess. So when you get your brows done or get them waxed or whatever, typically you have that lighter area around the perimeter of your brows, and that's because if you get your brows, typically when one gets their brows waxed, it removes that dead layer of skin underneath the hair as well. So that's why it gives a lighter appearance around the brows, henceforth why we conceal our brows. There's two reasons why we conceal the brows. We conceal them to give the look as if we just got our brows arched or done, and then two, we use it to clean up any mistakes that we might have done. So if we drew the tail too long or accidentally went too far here, your concealer can serve as like a magic eraser to just tidy up anything that you've messed up. So that's an example of concealing. Now, this brow bone, I just explained to you why underneath my brows are concealed, because we want it to look as if my brows were just done, and we want it to clean up anything that I accidentally messed up when I was filling in my brows. Now, a difference is highlighting your brow bone. So as we talked about in the bronzing and contouring video, where you use bronzers and contours you use contour to add dimension to your face, you use bronzer to warm up the face. On the other side, controversially, we have highlight and concealing. So concealing is basically to conceal dark marks, to conceal blemishes, to conceal under eye bags, to conceal dark circles. That is what concealing is for. Now you have highlighting, and for me there's two different versions of highlighting. You have highlighting, which is like the opposite of contour, where you're adding light back to the face. So that's like highlighting these areas that are lighter on the face. And then you have like your powder liquid highlighters, which add like a shimmer or glow to the face. So those are kind of like the different things we're going to go through today. So like I said, my brow is concealed. Now if I wanted to go the extra step and highlight my brow bone, which again, concealed is cleaned up and just concealed. If I want to highlight, that's adding a shimmer, something that's going to catch the light when I turn my head a certain way. That's what highlight is going to do. And if you look right here, you see how that kind of moves as I move my head in front of this light? That is kind of like what your shimmer highlight is going to serve as. It's going to serve as that thing that makes you glow when you turn your head in the light. Concealer is what's going to conceal the darkness, or highlight, which essentially when you're talking about highlighting with concealer, it's going to be brightening. So brightening the darker areas up under the eye, highlighting up in here, brightening up in here, brightening. So that's essentially like the difference. So I'm just going to take, this is an old Laura Geller Christmas Trio that I got from TJ Maxx. But any of Laura Geller's highlighters are 10 out of 10. And they're very pigmented. So if I want to highlight my brow bone, I'll just take a small brush and dust this highlighter on my brow bone. Now, as you can see, the shimmers in the highlighter pick up more light. So like it's glowing. Over here, it's just concealed, a little flat. Over here, it's like popping out. It's popping out. You see it popping. So that is like your powder highlight. So now I'm gonna go into it. I just want to show you that because it was on my mind. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead and do this brow so I don't forget, because we want to look as symmetrical as possible, depending on the makeup look. Okay, we're gonna conceal on the face. So when it comes to the shade of concealer that you use, for me, I own multiple shades of concealer. I have concealers that are my skin tone, like my overall generic skin tone. I have concealers that are lighter than my skin tone, and I have ones that are darker. The darker ones I use to contour or bronze, what have you. The lighter I use to highlight and brighten, and the ones that are my skin tone I use to conceal. So right now, if I had to choose a concealer that was close to my skin tone, I would probably go with this one, and it's from Tarte Cosmetics, but I do have any of my drugstore concealers that I recommend. You could just get them in the shade that matches your skin tone, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer to show you how I would conceal blemishes. So I have a few small dark marks on my face, and so you could just put like a little dot in those areas over the blemishes. And if you're a real OG, I did a video years ago on how to kind of do a natural face without foundation, and this is basically all I did. I spot concealed, added a little bit of concealer under the eye, and that was basically how I got my face looking ready. Like that was my full face of makeup that day, and it's very lightweight, great for summer, great for pool action, all of that stuff. But so right now, what I just did, dotting my skin tone concealer on my face, was to conceal like blemishes. You can also use it to conceal under eye bags. Now, depending on the severity of your under eye bags, you can use a color corrector to conceal. I currently do not have a color correcting concealer readily available in this space, but I do have a video already on my channel about priming and color correcting, so make sure you check that out. I'll link it in the cards. But as you can see, this is the Flesh Tone Concealer, concealing blemishes, dark marks, and those things like that. Because I do not have my color corrector and my under eyes aren't severely dark, I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit of that concealer in my flesh tone up under the eye where I have just a little bit of darkness. I need to get in the bed on time and maybe that'll go away. But so from here, you can let it get tacky. One thing you'll see people do all the time, they'll let their concealer sit. They'll use a fan. Sometimes I'll use my fan and let that concealer get tacky. And that just helps make the concealer a little bit more opaque, give a little bit more coverage, because when it's thicker and slightly dry, it just gives more coverage than when you blend it out when it's in its like super liquidy blendable state. So for me, I think you get more coverage when you blend out this with a brush versus a sponge, because you know the sponge will kind of absorb it unless you're using like a dry sponge. I don't recommend using a dry sponge that often because it just, the blendability isn't as chef's kiss as it is when it's damp. So that's why I recommend just using a brush to blend it out. You can use any old brush, and I just like press it in like that. And this brush is not a drugstore brush, it's just one that I picked up because it was right here. This is the Rare Beauty brush, foundation brush, I think. It doesn't have a number on it. But if y'all want me to use drugstore, which I'm sure y'all do, y'all know my tried and true. I need to wash my brushes. This is why I'm just using whatever random brush I pick up, which I can't stress to y'all enough. It's so important to wash your brushes, because like your makeup, I know people be like, you know, it's most seasoned when it ain't washed, but it just, one, it can hold bacteria and like mess with your skin. So like, say if you have a breakout, you did your makeup to cover up the breakout, and then the bacteria from that breakout is in your brush, and then you keep using that brush and you wonder why you keep breaking out, that might be a reason why. So that's why it's important to clean your brushes. But for me, I feel like it applies better with a clean brush, because the older your brush gets, it kind of like packs down with product, and so you don't, your bristles are caked together and it's not giving what it's supposed to have gave. So wash your brushes. So this is my NYX professional buffing brush. If you invest in anything, I know this brush is probably, it's over $10, less than $20. I want to say it's about $13, $14, something like that. But if you want a great foundation brush, I would strongly recommend getting this one. Like, this is hands down one of my favorite drugstore foundation brushes. So as you can see, my face, like, I literally just spot concealed. And like, I can go out the house like this. It's giving natural, it's giving skin, and it's covering those blemishes. So that is concealing, right? So that's Flesh Tone Concealer, concealing. So then you have highlighting, which I'm gonna go ahead and apply my foundation off camera, and then I'll come back and show you guys highlighting. So I applied my foundation of choice off camera, and today I used the Fenty Beauty Eavesdrop. This is the blurring skin tint, and I really like this foundation, especially, or excuse me, I really like this skin tint for summer. As y'all saw in one of my previous videos that I recently did, I compared the Fenty with the Rare Beauty tinted moisturizer, and I love those style products for summer because they're lightweight, but they give you coverage and they're just giving. So anyway, also note how much this looks full coverage because we concealed our blemishes underneath. So that's also a significance of concealing under your foundation or your skin tint, whatever you apply for the day. Having that extra layer of coverage underneath always helps in giving you like a flawless face. Now obviously I do still have a few blemishes peeking through because that was a skin tint and it's not like a full coverage foundation, but I love the overall coverage of my face. I did not bronze or anything yet because I wanted to show you guys the areas that I brighten with concealer. So a lot of times people use highlight for two different things, and I use it as well for two different things. So highlight, brighten, there's a highlight that's brightening, and then the highlight like the brow bone that we were talking about that shimmers. So you don't want to put like your shimmer powder highlight up under here because then you just go look like a crazy disco ball. You want to brighten under the eye area. Brighten under the eye area, and then when you turn your face, those areas that glow, like I showed y'all with the light hitting like my cheekbone, this is a great area to do that powder or liquid shimmer highlight. Same with the brow bone, same with the tip of the nose, bridge of the nose, like Cupid's bow. All of that are areas where you can highlight. So we're going to start off with our brightening highlight, which we're using concealer. And again, for the shade of concealer, it all depends on the look that you're going for. If I'm going for red carpet, I'm going to use a brighter concealer than I normally would. If I'm going for the trend that's going around now, there's a young lady, I don't know her name, but y'all have seen her. She's been doing her looks with her crazy light under eyes. Like, that's currently a trend going around right now. I know a few months ago, like, people were using white concealer under the brow. So bright under eyes are definitely in, don't get me wrong, but the shade that you use is based on what your preference is. So for me, like, I'm going for a nice natural look, but kind of soft glam. So I'm not gonna range too far above 1 to 2 shades above my skin tone. So I'm gonna quickly swatch the Tarte concealer that I use to conceal, which is like close to my skin tone. So that's the Tarte concealer that we use to conceal. And I'm gonna show you the e.l.f. concealer, which I feel is like 1 shade. This is the e.l.f. concealer, which is about 1 shade lighter. This might be 1.5 shades lighter than my skin tone. And then I have this Milani concealer that I've been using lately. That's about 2 shades lighter. So you see how flesh tone, 1 shade, 2 shades lighter. And then when you get into the territory of like 3 shades lighter, now you're getting, for me, this is entering like glam territory when you're going this bright. Because on a day-to-day basis, like if you're going for a natural look, your under eyes aren't 3 shades lighter than your skin tone, typically. Unless you're a little bit on the pale side, like that might be like your story, like that might be your ministry. If you're a little bit more pale, then your under eyes might be 3 shades lighter than your overall skin tone. But generally, majority of people I know, like their under eye area is no more than like 1 to 2 shades lighter than their skin tone. And so boom, this is the Sephora collection concealer. So this is like 3 shades lighter. So if I'm gonna use this 3 shades lighter than this, that's giving glam. So it is completely up to you. I would personally stick in this range from 1, 2, or 3 shades lighter. This honestly is like 3.5, 4 shades lighter, because there's definitely a shade in between here. But I would stick between this range unless you want to go for that white, bright under eye. So it's totally up to you, your preference, but that is how I gauge what shade concealer to get. Fenty Beauty does it really well, where their concealer shade corresponds with their foundation shade, but it's actually a touch lighter. It's basically it's complementary to the foundation shade. So if you have the foundation 385 and then you get the concealer 385 from Fenty Beauty, the concealer is going to be slightly lighter than the foundation, but it's like that complementary color where you're brightening the under eye, and it's roughly a 1/2 to 1 shade lighter than your overall foundation. So I know that's a lot of information and it's a lot of words I'm giving y'all. Take notes if you have to, but I'm just trying to explain to you guys like how I choose my concealer shade. So first, I'm gonna go in with that e.l.f. concealer, which is 1 shade lighter. And technically, I really don't have to do this in this moment because I did conceal already under my foundation. But this is the area that I like to conceal. You do not have to apply the whole triangle. I still like applying the triangle because I like to drag my concealer down a little bit and then bronze up into it. You see a lot of people who do the trend where it's just like highlighting or concealing right here and then concealing on the outer end to lift the eye. I feel like they're very similar. This one you're just using less product and it's not as highlighty, but they're similar. But I'll blend them out like this so you can see the difference. Another place I like to, the nose, you want to avoid putting too much product on, but I do like to go ahead and add a little concealer on my nose. Now, most of the time, I'll just go ahead and put the lighter concealer on the bridge of my nose because I want it to be brighter there. So we're actually going to do that. And I'm just going to put the one that's one shade lighter on my chin. We're not trying to look like the crimson chin, but we do want our chin to pop out. Same with our forehead. We want a little bit of definition there as well. And then I'm gonna take that Milani concealer and just do the tip of my nose like I mentioned. I like the tip of my nose and the bridge of my nose. And typically you don't have to necessarily drag it all the way down. I like doing a little explanation point, so a little dot here and a line in the middle. And again, I'm gonna let this get tacky. I don't mind blending out my chin and my forehead with the same brush I used to blend out my foundation, so it blends better. But when it comes to the under eye, I do like blending that out with a sponge. You can do it with a small brush. There's no harm in that at all. Like this is the Morphe M335 brush. And that way you can, if you use a brush, you can kind of control it a little bit better, kind of where you blend it out. And for my nose, I like to blend towards the center, so I'm not dragging it down the sides of the nose. Okay, so I'm using a damp sponge to blend out under the eye, and what I like to do is push it inward again so we're not dragging our concealer out. So I blend like this, and then when I get to the outside, I just push inward. And so this is how I like my under eye brightened or highlighted. I like brightening it like this. I'm gonna show you this side. It's gonna be a little less dramatic just because you have less product. In this one, people like to drag out because the whole point of highlighting on that tip is to like lift the face. So I don't know if you guys can tell the difference. Like this one is like glam highlight, this is more of a natural highlight. And because I don't want to look too crazy, I'm gonna add a little bit more. Well, I'll just leave it like that. So from here, if you want to go the extra step, you can also skip this step if you want to go to a lighter shade, but sometimes I like to go in with the lighter shade and then I'll just do that inner corner and outer on this side. So I'm already concealed and have full coverage, and then I add this. Again, if you don't want a lot of makeup on, you don't have to do that. That's getting into the glam side. But personally, I like to do both unless I'm going for super lightweight. If I'm going for super lightweight, I would have did it like this and just left it like that instead of adding more concealer. But I'm also going to let this get a little bit tacky and then blend it out with my sponge. Okay, so you see how that brightened up under the eye? That's why people go up to 2 shades brighter. And so you can only imagine how bright it would be if you went 3 shades lighter. I would max out at 3 again, unless you're going for that super bright under eye trend where some people even use white. So sometimes I'll conceal over the mouth a little bit because I do like the whole like this area almost skeleton shaped highlighted. I don't hate it. I think the more coverage I have in the apples of my cheeks, the more fuller coverage my whole face looks. So this is what this side looks like, where I did do the extra step of concealing or brightening with the 1 shade lighter concealer and the 2 shade lighter concealer. And so once I apply the concealer, I like to go back in with that foundation brush and just kind of make sure you diffusing the edges. This was in my video where I shared with you guys how the tips for a flawless face. Like, make sure we're diffusing those edges. So that is highlighting. So I'm gonna bronze my face off camera because I already did that video for you guys, and I'll come back and we'll do the last step of highlighting with like your shimmer or liquid highlighter. All right, y'all, so I have set my face. I done did a little bronze, I done did a little blush, like I done been all around the world, all around the world. Okay, and now we are back. So the face is concealed, it is brightened. When I say highlight, it's been brightened. And now it's time to highlight. Okay, so when it comes to highlighting, which is like the shimmer highlight, there's multiple highlighters that you can use. There's loose highlighters. This is the Juvia's Place Royalty 1 loose highlighter. There's liquid highlighters. This is the Rare Beauty liquid luminizer. And then there's powder highlighters like this Laura Geller one that I mentioned that you can use to highlight areas for the light to hit when you're moving your face around. I almost forgot that I had this in there. But in the Black Radiance True Complexion Contour Palette, there's a highlighter in here. I'm gonna use that just because it's a drugstore highlighter. But there's a Master Chrome. I don't remember what brand it is, but there's a Master Chrome highlighter that I love. It's absolutely amazing, and it's drugstore. And then Wet n Wild also has a really good like highlighter. So there's a lot of drugstore highlighters that you could get that are giving pigment, okay? Now I will say investing in a nice highlighter brush is great. A few of them that I like to use is this highlighter brush from Kaleidos. It's literally just like a medium widespread brush that's not like too large. The other one that I got is the Pro Highlighter 98 brush from Sephora. This is a little bit more pricey. And then you also have highlighter brushes like the Morphe M501 brush is a great highlighter brush as well. And then of course you have your fan brushes. So for me, fan brushes can be tricky because it can, if you're doing this, you see that's covering from my mouth all the way to my hairline, and I don't want highlighter going all the way down. So if you use a fan brush or something big like this, you want to like kind of stand it up so it's only hitting that area right there that you want to highlight. So I'm gonna use this fan brush for kicks and giggles to show you guys using that kind, and I'm just tapping it in here. And you can see the product on there. You can tap it like that to tap the excess off so you don't have too much. But like I apply it like right on the top. Like if I could sit something on my cheekbone, I apply it like right on top. And so I'm holding it like up so I'm not getting it everywhere. But that's like how you use a fan brush. Now again, I don't like using it because you can accidentally put more than you want on it. So I'm gonna take this Kaleidos highlighter brush and I'm just gonna apply it right there where I want it. I want it kind of crescent shaped right there. Now this is my personal where I like to highlight, because when you face forward you can still see a little bit, but as you turn, like you're getting all of that. And I do like to drag it up into my brow bone. So sometimes I do like a C shape like that. But then I'll go in with same brush we use for foundation and just dull it down just a touch. And that's how I like to highlight. So again, this is adding that powder shimmer highlight to just illuminate the face. And again, I like to do the tip of my nose. Again, like an explanation point, I do the tip of my nose, the bridge of my nose, like that. And I also like to do my Cupid's bow, because these are all areas that I want to stick out or be prominent. And then that is pretty much highlighting. So you see how that adds a whole little pizzazz to your look? Like, that is truly highlighting. So you learn how to conceal, you learn how to brighten with concealer and highlight with concealer, and now you're learning how to apply highlighter, you know, in those areas. Some people dust a little bit, like they'll go in with the big fan brush and like dust a little bit on the forehead or on the edges above the brow arch to just give that, like, that radiance. Sometimes they do on the chin. It's completely up to you, but this is where I typically highlight, on top of my cheeks right here, my brow bones, tip of my nose, bridge of the nose, explanation point, and my Cupid's bow. That's where I like to highlight. So I'm gonna do the rest of my face, and I'm gonna come back and give y'all the outro so y'all can see the look pull all together. So yeah. Alright y'all, so I went ahead and did my lashes, all that, lips, all of that off camera. The lashes are from Shein, and my lip combo is this e.l.f. I want to say this is the Tina Major 9 collab. This is their lip liner, and I use this NYX Shine Loud. This is like that viral lipstick that they had where it's like matte and then you put the little clear coating on it and it don't transfer. And this is in the shade Gold Crusher. And then I just topped it off with my MAC lip gloss. So that's what's giving all the shine. That's what kind of melted the colors together and all of that. So a good lip gloss will take your lip liner lipstick combo to another level. But anyway, y'all, this is what my face looks like, highlighted, concealed, all of that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this hashtag highlight poppin' video. Hopefully y'all understand the difference between concealing, highlighting, brightening, and highlighter. Hopefully I helped provide a little bit of clarity for you guys as beginners. I really hope this video was helpful. Again, let me know in the comment section what videos you guys want to see next. I love y'all so very much. Thank y'all for tuning in, and y'all never forget, at the end of the day, without regrets, love yourself and be you, Tiffle. Bye y'all. It's Slim Reshae, natural beauty. It's Slim Reshae, all about natural beauty. Yeah, Slim Reshae.